Hello everyone, thank you for having me, and I'm going to be speaking to you today about Thomas Hardy. He wrote The Darkling Thread. It is one of the our form. Okay, the Thomas Hardy is the greatest writer the Victorian period. The Thomas Hardy was born on 2nd June 1840 in Dorset, England. Initially appreciated as a prolific novelist, Hardy has proved to be one of the most important poets of his age, the Victorian age, that thanks to his choice of the poetry later in life. His works provide a realistic reflection of the socio-economic condition and the moral dilemma of his age. His novel, such as The Far from the Madding Crowd, The Mayor of Casterbridge, provide a very strong commentary on the human condition, ensconced with the force of the love, hope, despair, struggle, and most importantly, the fact that Hardy is one of the few writers of his time to be the equally effective both in prose and poetry. He is the famous of the prose and poetry. That Thomas Hardy was the eldest son of the stonemason and initially worked as an architect under the apprentice of the famous architect by the name of the John Giggs. John Giggs is the one of the famous architect. The Hardy was unable to secure university education due to the financial constraint and his class status. Coupled with his rural origin gave him the first-hand experience of the socio-economic inequalities of the Victorian London. He was a non-conformist for the first time and frequently attacked the traditional institution of the religion and marriage in his work. Thomas Hardy met and fell in love with Emma Gifford and married her 4 years later. Emma had a great role to play in furthering Hardy's literary life, and both lived happily for some time. However, their marriage was hit the rocks for several years, and Emma's death in 1990 brought the estranged relationship to an end. 2 years later, Hardy then married his secretary, Florence Ductel. This marriage was the strained one, the forcibly owing the Hardy preoccupation with his former wife, for whom wrote the several death poems. These death poems remain one of the finest of their kind of English literature. Hardy wrote poetry in several forms ranging from the lyric to the epic and everything between. The landscape is a landscape, the session and the local color of his native place was the greatly influence of his poetry. The Hardy has influenced echoes the later literary the greatest writers like D.H. Lawrence, Robert Frost, and T.S. Eliot, among others. The Thomas Hardy died in January 11, 1928. Ashes have been remained in the Poets' Corner Westminster Abbey, and his coat is buried in his native town. Thank you. Hello everyone.